Welcome, one and all, back to No Tact Talk. It is early morning. I had to get some coffee. Feeling good though. Had to put some honey in there so my voice can have the sauce on the mic. And I have a very special guest today. Um, I do think that the timing of this particular podcast is great because of my issues, my technical difficulties. I think we was gonna do this maybe like a couple months ago, and in those last couple of months the world is almost ended, right? So it's been crazy. But I have Pastor Dwight here. He's actually a neighbor of mine from where I'm from Alabama. The Cajun roots, Louisiana, homegrown, right? Loves Jesus, family man. We share a fervent love for coffee. He's also an essential oil enthusiast, which we're gonna get to later on as well. And he's the pastor of the youth department at the Summit Church. So with all that being said, insert applause here. How you doing, Pastor Dwight?
Man, I'm doing good, buddy. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm living life. It's raining outside now, so I think it stopped maybe.
What? It's raining where you are? Because it's not
Yeah,
raining here.
it was just raining. Just woke up. It's probably wasn't the only podcast I've done in the morning because your schedule is crazy. So I love it though. The reason why I wanted to have you on is because, especially now, oh my goodness, is to have a kind of a different perspective on kind of like what you do. Obviously, we'll get into like how you got into ministry and kind of your journey with God and kind of just
Yeah.
really pouring into people, which is a big thing as well. So I kind of want to get right on into it. And so how'd you get started? What did you realize that you had this calling to be a pastor and, pretty much an entrepreneur too?
Yeah, man. So I was 16 years old, Jay, whenever my life radically changed.
Yeah.
I can say the word radical because before that, I mean, I was never in church. I won't say never. It was not often. But you and I both know that whenever you're young, there's a lot of things that are impressionable
Mm-hmm.
uh, that can come against you, and sometimes in a negative way, but also in a positive way. So for me, man, it took people who did not know me to love me right where I was in
Yeah.
life, believe in me, and I knew that there was something in this person or in these people that was so different than I've ever experienced before. And of course, it was Jesus. We know that. So, man, it radically changed my life. And I remember at 16, I was a junior in high school.
Yeah.
I was at a pivotal point where I was willing to dabble into things that I know I shouldn't, but I was willing to do it because I wanted attention. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
feel loved, and I wanted that popularity from my peers.
Right.
Well, my life radically changed, man. God came and met me right where I was. And I remember that summer, I went to my first summer camp, church camp ever. And Jed, for me, that's where there was a turning point where I felt like, because my life changed as a young person, if this happened for me, then I want to see this happen to as many young people as possible in my life.
Why
So,
young people though?
young
Not what?
people,
Yeah, because you could be doing it for everybody, but like I think it takes a particular person to deal with kids, and
takes a
patience,
lot of,
empathy, right?
it does. I won't lie to you, man. I think I might have questioned that in years
Yeah.
past because it does take a lot of patience. Now that I have my own kids, you're constantly hitting a nail on a head. You can't just do it once and expect them to do it. You got to hit it. You got to hit it. You got to hit it
Mm-hmm.
until they get it, and they got to want it incredibly bad. For me, I wanted it. I wanted that change, and I turned it over to God, man, and I ran with it.
Okay.
So I know that whenever I came to the conclusion in my own life that if this happened for me, that I know it can happen for others. And I just had a strong passion for this generation of young people, in
Mm-hmm.
particular, junior high and high school people. To me, that's some of your most pivotal points in your life.
Yeah.
And I think when you can meet right on your journey, your path with the gospel of Jesus, man, that it's fun, but it's catchy,
Mm-hmm.
and the culture is constantly changing every 3 or 4 months. You got to stay on top of your game. You got to find out what's going on, and it's a challenge, and I like it. So that's just in a small nutshell of why I do what I do.
Okay. So how did you end up at Summit Worship Center? I know we talked about that a little bit off the mic, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Can you still hear me well?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Well, the pastor is Eric Moore, and he and I actually
Shout
met in
out.
California. Yep, shout out to Pastor Eric Moore. We met in California. We went to school together, and the
Okay.
6 months that we were in a very, man, it was crazy. It was a very intense Bible school. Pretty much right off the bat, we became good friends. And throughout the week, we did class, but on the weekends, when we had time to chill and hang out, we were not all the time, but most of the time, we were hanging out with each other. It developed a really good friendship. So over the last 19 years, we've stayed in great connection. We served in each other's weddings.
Mhm.
We stayed in touch with each other's families. And there was just a time where they came to a place that they needed somebody to come on staff to oversee their children and youth department. And it's a long story, so I have to give you the short version, but it's
Cliff
an
notes.
incredible God.
Yeah.
Footnotes. We were living in Houston, Texas, man, and we were comfortable where we were because we thought we would be in Houston forever. And we came to a crossroad in our life that we got too comfortable, and
Mm.
we needed to change big time, because this is another topic for another day. But we kind of stepped out of church ministry. You can do ministry anywhere, right?
Mhm.
Anything you do is ministry, but church ministry is something we stepped out of because of certain reasons. And there was a lot of hurt from that,
Mhm.
but we knew that we would be back in church ministry again. So when he called me and said, here's what we want you to do, I considered it, and we prayed about it, and that's how we ended up moving to Austin, Texas. And the God story in the middle of all that, it's a really long story,
We got
but man,
time.
but the moment that we moved to Houston, Jay, let me tell you
Yeah.
something. Everything that we've walked through in life, the fear, the hurt, the doubts, all those things. The moment we visited the church here in Summit, man, the moment we walked in those doors, it was the love of God through people in that church, man, that felt like we're home. It
Mhm.
was, it was beautiful. Um, there was such a beautiful mixture of multicultural people, and man, they just loved me and my family, and they didn't even know us. And we've
Mhm.
experienced that in many years past. But when we felt it, we knew that this was the place that we needed to be. So that's how we ended up coming to Summit, came on staff, and it's been a beautiful picture for the last 2 years of serving there at Summit with our young people.
Yeah, when I first got there as well, I think brotherhood kind of sold it for me when I first got there because I had never seen such a dynamic like group
Hmm.
of men. Like it was amazing. Like just the transparency of it all. You know, I'm big on being transparent, open, and stuff, and it was just groundbreaking, really. And so quick question on that too, because I'm always asking questions for the people listening as well. When you go, because I did like a whole segment on, as far as going to church hurt, things like that. When you go to a church, I tell people try it out. If you don't like the music, go somewhere else. Like it's a church in every corner type stuff, right? So how did you and your wife really like? Okay, this is it. Like aside from like Eric, because like you talking about uproot from Houston to
Yeah.
Austin, right?
Hmm.
What does that look like? I guess because some people might not be like especially in tune. So like, because I think a big thing me and my friends were talking about a couple of days ago was like separating my voice from what I think I feel like, oh, this is a good thing versus God's voice because they could be saying
Hmm.
something completely different. So what does that look like as far as that?
Well, I mean, I'll give you my experience. So there was a good 8 year period, Jay, where my wife and I, when we lived in Houston,
Yeah.
we visited multiple churches. And in Houston, Texas, there's some of the greatest churches around. There's some
Mm.
big churches, there's some medium-sized churches, and there's great churches. But we never really felt like it was home. We decided to stay at some places and stay there for a while, get involved.
Hmm.
So for us, when we walked into Summit, all I can say is this. You don't ever want to compare, if you came from a really good church, you never want to compare where you came from to the church you're trying to go to. Because if you compare, comparison will hurt you. You can't compare that pastor to the other pastor or what this person did compared to what that person did.
Okay.
It's got to be a God thing. Because if you're going there for man, you will always leave. You will always be offended. Something's going to happen. But if you're there because God truly is in it and you know it,
Hmm.
you and I both know this. Whenever God is in it and you feel something, it's a God thing, you can't shake that.
So what
You
about the
can't shake that.
worship music though? Because I get the word piece, But like,
Yes.
if I don't like the particular set of songs, and I give people like 2
Yep.
or 3 weeks. When we were visiting churches as well, I give you 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, let me see what's in the queue, right? And I test it out because we went one of the churches in Tennessee when we were at. Great word, like
Hmm.
amazing word, but we would find ourselves like just being late on purpose just to make it in time for the sermon
Yeah.
because we just couldn't get with the music. We have our own playlist on the way there at what time is just right. So, is there any human
Well,
application to that?
yes, there is, because I think we're all made to worship God, right? So
Yeah.
there's a part of you, the anatomy that how God built you. You know your taste, you know what you like, and there's nothing wrong with that. So when you walk into a church, here's the deal about Summit too. When we heard the worship for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of dedication, a lot of incredible excellence that goes into that. We knew that because you can sense it on stage, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
a show. It was anointed. They had incredible musicians, incredible people that could sing. So whenever they played, man, that God, it was God's presence in there. And we
Mm-hmm.
missed that. For years, we couldn't find that. And there's been good ones, but man, this surpassed it. And this drew us
Yeah.
right into what we've been craving for so long. So that was another aspect of Summit of why we loved it so much. Then our kids, because we've been in ministry pretty much for the majority of my life.
Yeah.
My kids went to kids church, and again, we weren't on staff. This is just us visiting. My kids came back and thrived and loved, absolutely loved what they experienced,
Yeah.
and they actually repeated back what they learned. That's when you know if a kid is paying
That's
attention and they're
that's a
really
good
enjoying
point.
it.
Yeah.
Yes. So we knew
Yeah.
those are like the bonuses. Those are all the bonuses,
Seal the
man.
deal. Yeah.
Still to do. When we walked into the doors of the church, and I think people will experience this when you go to a church,
Mm-hmm.
you will know pretty much right off the bat when you walk in, the atmosphere and the people and the vibe,
Okay.
if this is where you're supposed to be.
Okay.
Bottom line.
I feel that. Okay.
Everything else is just like cake and ice cream.
I get it. So it's in a bit of a transitional question. I wanted to touch on it too because I don't think this is a coincidence. I was thinking about this last night. I think we're supposed to do this in like March, right?
Yeah.
Sometime in March. I mean, maybe weeks before all this stuff hit. So as everybody knows, COVID-19 hit. We're dealing through that. I wanted to do this in person. You live down the street. Well, in the same city, and but we were having to do things through Zoom, and so how have you adapted through that? So as far as the COVID thing, and then in the past episodes as well, we talked about how people have dealt with like an amount of anxiety, fear, panic,
Yeah.
right? And it's hitting everybody a little bit different. So how
Yeah.
are you making a transition?
Well, Jay, I mean, first of all, everything got turned to this Zoom
Yeah.
and Facebook and virtual stuff. I mean, everything that I do has turned to that. Everything we do with our youth messages, kids messages, we've started doing filming, producing videos. And so it
Hmm.
was a big challenge at first, because we have not done that. So there was definitely a big challenge when we had this shift,
Yeah.
but I welcome those challenges because you learn something new. And this is, I mean, our world is virtual social media. So learning this has been a plus for us. Now, the anxiety, the fear, um, worrying, and just what's going to happen. These are all natural emotions that people experience. So one of the things I've learned is you really have to give a massive amount of grace to people where they are,
Hmm.
because some people will experience it on different levels, right? Some people are ready to get back into this world and let's just get after it, and you do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
Some people are still extreme on this side, that they don't want to get out, they don't want to be around people, they're not ready to get back into the full public yet, and I get that. So everybody is on different levels with anxiety, fear, and what should we do, what should we not do.
Hmm.
I know one of the things that we have to always come back to is living by faith and not by fear. Easier said than done, because still when it comes to your faith walk, people are on different levels.
Hmm.
I can't expect people to believe or be where I'm at whenever it comes to the
So
pandemic.
you were good with it.
In the first 2 weeks, we took extreme caution, man. We didn't know
Yeah.
what, I don't think anybody knew. So we took extreme caution because we wanted to make sure, let's follow the guidelines. We are still taking some measurements of safety,
Yeah.
but if we go somewhere and that's expected for us to do, then we're going to abide by that to the most part, because we want to respect other people's boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, we're very outside nature people, so we're always outside. We go on hikes, we go on trails. The swimming pool where we live is open, so I take my kids swimming.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I believe if you're outside, if you're in nature, you're getting fresh sun, staying active, and still being proactive and keeping your health up, which is your immune system. And you know what we do with the essential oils. We do all
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
stuff.
We getting to that. Yeah.
So we boost ourselves and our immune system. And to me, if you study and research this, when you are full of anxiety, full of fear, full of worry, it suppresses your immune system.
Mm.
So it's important. Number one, I might be jumping to some of your notes,
No, that's
but
fine. That's good.
it's so important. The number one thing is this. I cannot express this enough. We hear it all the time, and it sounds a little cliche, but it's true. You have to stay connected to Jesus no matter what. If you are on your computer, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram or watching the news, you are going to walk away negative. You're going to walk
Mm-hmm.
away fearful. You're going to walk away feeling like junk. You got to stay connected to the source, which is Jesus, man. If you don't stay connected to that worship and to that word and get filled with that, everything else is going to bring you down. There's times I felt the weight. I didn't know what was going to happen. We
Mm-hmm.
all kind of felt maybe at one point in time or another, like, what's going to happen in this world? What's going to happen to our job? What's going to happen to my kids?
Yeah.
What if I do get this? And I remember one night, Jay, I woke up and I could not sleep. 4:00 in the morning, went
Mm-hmm.
to my living room and I just opened up the word. And oftentimes when I feel this way, I just have to stop what I'm doing, get in the word, put on some worship music, and just let Jesus come. And don't even move. I can't move until I know
Mm-hmm.
Jesus has met me. And every time that happens, I leave completely different. And I think in life, it's so hard to live this life when you don't have a strong foundation, faith in Jesus Christ. It is
Yeah.
difficult.
And for me, it's I was surprised because when it first happened, oh, to fly my mic anyway. When it first happened for me, like I was happy to be out of work. I was working, but like it was a break, and I had to like look myself in the mirror a little bit because everything was slowing down,
Yeah.
right? And even now, like where we're at right now, it's like it's getting better, but now people acting crazy again and going out and
Yeah.
not caring about it, and now it's like hiking back up, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then people, everybody, my friends, I see people on Facebook and stuff like, 2020, you got Kobe, you got COVID, you got all this bad stuff happening, and it's I think I've seen an influx of emotions that I've never seen from different people,
Yeah.
and how they're, like you said, they're coping with it. And so I do think that's very essential. It's just, and I found myself too doing the same thing, just trying to just, okay, if I gave, let's for example, an hour a day to God, I'm gonna try to do two. you
Right. Right.
know. Another thing too that I noticed that you were doing, which is very important. That's why I wore my shirt today, my Malcolm Huey, what is it, Tupac, right?
Yeah. Come
Shirt,
on,
because
Tupac.
it's a balance. So you got Malcolm X, you got Huey P. Newton, co-founder of the Black Panther Party. You
Yeah.
got Tupac and Martin Luther King Jr. So I say it's always a balance. Not too much Malcolm, right? But not too much Martin either, right? So you took a stance, which was, I think I had to mention. This is why I think it's great that we did it now. You took a particular stance that we wanted in the Black community for our white brothers and sisters to take,
Yeah.
because I know y'all, if y'all been keeping up with the podcast, and I did one on my Aubrey, another one of me and Marcel, just kind of going in,
Mm-hmm.
letting those raw emotions out, which I think was necessary because a lot of people don't know how to, cope really.
Yeah.
And then we end up having to go, and then most people like the Dr. No way. So, that's a whole therapy piece that we talked about last week as well. It's coming out soon, but you came out and you made videos, but And I know we talked about as well, even from the people in your circle, they didn't quite agree with it. So what did like, the riots and like this, how did that feel for you initially going through all this craziness too? I'm not sure how to ask that question, but like, because you came from
Yeah,
a very like carnal, like, sincere place.
yeah. Well, I tell you what, when I, I saw the video, when I saw the video of Ahmaud,
Yeah.
this is before George Floyd, obviously. I'll be honest with you. That video tore me up.
Mm.
It looked like, to me, no matter what Ahmaud was doing, because I know people want to speak against all the negative junk out there. Here's a young black man in the streets, and I literally saw people, and the white people in the back of a truck
Yeah.
with shotguns. Okay. It looked like they were hunting a man down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No matter how good, no matter what the situation was, here's a young black man running the streets. And the confrontation was, it looked like it tore me up. And it happened so fast
Mm.
that in the middle of this spout with Ahmaud, and it came down to shooting him and killing him, messed me up. And my everything inside of me just was it was complete racial. It was
Mm-hmm.
it was racism. It was like there was intentional
Yeah.
um, hurt that was wanting to take place in that situation. So then you fast forward to George Floyd, and then also the lady in the park who
Yeah.
confronts the man,
Yeah.
and my emotions went high, and I'll explain. I have a lot of friends who are people of color,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And my wife is pure Hispanic. I mean, she's about as dark as they come.
Yeah.
So when you look at us, we're an interracial couple,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So when it comes to people of different color, the way that I view them, and when we say that we have friends and family, my wife and I, we really do mean that they're not an acquaintance, okay?
Yeah.
We do life with people who don't look like with us intentionally. So even though I knew this, it didn't hit home with me because I believe that I was just ignorant to a point. It didn't hit home with me truly, like 100% what people go through, of our Black friends and family, of what
Mm-hmm.
they have to go through on a daily basis
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to racism, when it comes to injustice, when it comes to being judged, when it comes to stereotypes. So all of these things brought all these emotions in me, man, and it tore me up. And I felt like, as a white person, that it finally hit me of what white privilege is, white
Mm-hmm.
supremacy, and white fragility. All these things of what it really meant as a white person.
Yeah.
Even though that's not how I want to act, and I don't advocate that, because of the nature of who I am and where I come from. Sometimes I insert myself, and I'm just being honest with you. This is no
Yeah.
tact show,
There
right?
you go. No.
So there's times where I might insert myself in a situation when it comes to my Black friends or Black family, because what they go through, I'm like, oh, you know what? I remember I went through that too one time before, because I'm married to a Hispanic woman.
Yeah.
Every time I would do that, that means I'm inserting myself in an emotional pain, in a place of hurt that someone's going through.
Mm.
And even if I go inside of a store, if I go to a gas station, somewhere's in public, I never have to worry about who's going to look at me and judge me wrong.
Yeah.
It never dawned on me like 100%, Jay, until all this happened. And that people like yourself and other people who are people of color, Black people, of how they get judged on a daily basis because of their skin color.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you. 4 months ago, I was stopped by that police officer. My inspection sticker was out. Um, it had just turned over. It was just like by 1 month. Okay.
Yeah.
Then a year prior to that, where we lived before, I had got stopped by a police officer because I was speeding 10 miles over. So I did not realize that once you take care of a ticket like that, you got to go to the courthouse, and there are several things you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
There was something that I did not do, and there was a warrant out for me
Oh
because
snap.
that
Yeah.
ticket had to be taken care of. Now, when we moved, they didn't have my right address. So whenever they stopped me, they said, "Do you know that you have a warrant out because you have a ticket from last year that should have been taken care of? You're supposed to go in to take care of it, and you did not." Da 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 da. I
Uh-huh.
was like, "I took care of that ticket." He says, "No, you didn't." So they said, "You are detained, and you're going to have to drive to the police station. We'll follow you there to take care of the ticket." Bro, my blood was rushing through me because I was like,
Yeah.
they searched me, they searched my truck, but it was done very lightly, if you follow me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in that instance immediately that if I would have had any one of our youth with us from our church, if it was a black person with me, or if I was a black person myself,
Yeah.
that would have not been the case. I
Yeah.
very much think that because of the skin color that I have, they treated me incredibly different compared to if it was you or if it was a black man or another person of color.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. 100%.
And
Yeah.
I told our pastors that I think that it would have been
uh,
a different story if it would have been any one of them compared to me.
I remember I was at Fort Campbell, and it was like I was just hungry. I want to go to Arby's. People always talk about me like Arby's. I love Arby's. Anyway, I remember driving. I had like some dressed like this, sweatpants, t-shirt, whatever. And it's two instances actually. Um, One time I got pulled over. First thing at Arby's, hey, let them know. It helps because I'm in the military, but still, right? You know, that's the only thing I guess I would have. Because I remember when I used to drive when I was in Alabama, I used to have to drive 4 hours to go to my drill when I was in the National Guard. And I went to some sketchy cities. So I would keep my whole uniform on just in case I got pulled over
Yeah.
every time. Because I mean, hey, if you gonna
Wow.
kill me, you gonna kill me as a soldier, you know, that's gonna be
Wow.
that's how I would think. But so I was coming and I remember like, cause it was kind of like 11, 12 o'clock at night. I said, I ain't been drinking nothing. I'm good. I was like 10 and 2. I was doing a speed limit, everything. And it felt good for me to like, hey, I ain't did nothing, you know? So he
Yeah.
pulled me over and it's a white cop. And obviously, you know, I'm like 10 and 2, got my stuff. Like, hey, can I get the whole thing they tell you to do? And it was just so professional. Dude was really cool, really cool. And it surprised me. But I told him, I was like, hey man, appreciate you letting me go. Cause they were out looking for like drugs. You know, every now and then you get pulled over, they just checking for different cars, whatever. Now, granted, I did kind of fit the stereotype. I had some 20s, dark
Yeah.
10, double sided. So I get it, you know. I did. But I felt good because I was like, I ain't got nothing wrong right now.
Yeah.
You know, but I told him, I said, I appreciate you for just being professional. And it like caught him.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I had to tell him. I said, because as many times as I felt, other times I got pulled over, you could just kind of tell it was weird. He was like real cool about it, but I don't know. I just feel like I needed to tell him that because I try not to be that person that's just like so angry, like we talked about before, and me and my dad especially, who was born in 1951, right? I always say that like he experienced a lot of that. But we were just talking the other day, and he was just like, you know, you gotta look at people in love. Right,
Yeah.
you gotta like, you know, give them that common denominator. But I'm coming back, right? I'm like, why can't I don't know because if the statistic is 1 or 2, whatever it is, cops are dirty, right?
Mhm.
I'm not taking those odds on the odds. I'm gonna get an 8 out of 10 cop.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta act accordingly. So I
Yeah.
mean, I do think that there is not a generation. Well, yeah, a generational gap on how people think
Yeah.
as well, and like their experiences and things that they've had. And
Sure.
I do think that this is very important, which is another reason I want to have you on as well, that we had these conversations so people can hear it. I don't think it's like beating a dead horse either, because you know I want to keep this in the conversation. I want to
Sure.
do my part, and I know we talked about as well, influencing your sphere or your lane of people, because a lot of people think that they can't or they don't have a means to make a change.
Yeah.
That's why I think is the gap for me. If I for people I think about that, well, all this stuff happening, you know, yeah, we sharing stuff on Facebook and it's all good, but everybody want to make a change, right?
Hmm.
But the only thing I can ever think about, obviously, you know, love on folks, no matter who they are, but it's to have these conversations because, you know, you teaching your kids that is going to affect my kids someday,
Absolutely.
you know, and people don't think about it like that. So all it takes is just having that conversation. So I commend you. Appreciate that.
Well, man, thank you for saying that, Jay. The reason why I brought up that story about me getting stopped by a police officer, again, there's a lot of great cops. There's a lot
Yeah.
of great cops. It was 3 officers. It ended up being 1, then 2, and then
Yeah, they
3.
supposed to come behind. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, but because of it was $150 ticket that I needed to pay, they said, "We're going to let you know, sir, that you are detained right now, but we're going to let you drive 5 blocks away to the courthouse or the police station to pay your
Hmm.
ticket." Think about this. They said, "You are detained, but we're going to let you drive." Do you think they would let somebody of color do that?
No,
No,
no.
no. If you're detained, if they really did detain me, they should have done what?
They would have called a tow truck. They would have put you in the back, and they would have drove
Leave
you
your truck here. We'll
themselves.
take care of your truck, and we're gonna
Yep,
get in the back of my car, and we bring you down to the station.
yep. If
So,
they didn't
man,
handcuff you in that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I was scared to death. I was scared to death. I was like, "Oh Jesus, this ain't good for me." Anyway, but it happened fast. Went down there, paid it, got taken care of. So Jay, when all this stuff came out with all the man George Floyd, because of him, and it went so public fast, and we saw the raw emotions of so many people, the hurt and the pain they've been experiencing for hundreds of years. It really did do something to me and my wife, to where I felt like I needed to go onto my
The
small little social
platform.
media, yeah,
Yeah.
and say something. And I know that it's one thing to say something, and it's one thing to do something. So the number one thing that I did was repent, was
Hmm.
apologize because of my own people and my race for what
So
they've done to people.
what is that? What brought that on? I get it. I get
Yeah,
it, right? But
right.
most people will say, because I've heard this. I mean, I've deleted so many friends. I mean,
Yeah,
at least like 40 from my last unit, mostly military. But they said I didn't do anything. I didn't racially profile you. Da da da. Da. So why do
no.
I have to apologize? Like,
So for me, man, I felt strong about this because I began to dive into some history. I want said, let me go for myself and really find out. Even though I've studied it in school, let me make sure I know what history says. And so when you think about the word race, the
mm-hmm,
word race never came to the picture until the white man said, we want a distinction between this race and this race, which was between the black race and the white race.
mm-hmm,
So they came up with this word called race, that we are a white race and this is a black race, and you're different and we're gonna treat you different.
mm-hmm.
The word white never came into the picture either until the white man said, we are people that are white. It wasn't English anymore. It wasn't that you were Irish, or was it any ethnicity
Just
was no
white.
longer just white.
Yeah.
And even if you were Indian or even some Hispanics at one time, they included them into the white phrase many years ago, and said it was a very clear distinction of white versus black. Now, of course, over the years, people are like, no, 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 I'm not white, I'm Indian, or I'm
Yeah.
Hispanic, or I'm this, Asian. So the ethnicity, I think, is so beautiful, the way God made different ethnicities, and it's more about the black and the white issue. So I begin to realize, man, my people are the ones who messed this up. They were so proud that it was the wrong kind of pride, that they really thought something was wrong with people who were dark skinned, and they made it known, man, to where they called them names, they treated them different, they
Yeah.
did things within slavery, killed people, bought people. I mean, just you know the history.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt such a huge responsibility just on behalf of my people to repent and to apologize, and that for anything that I may have been ignorant in, which I know that there's points in my life that I have been, because me living my white life,
Yeah.
um, not walking in your shoes, Jay, it's hard. I can say I have empathy for you, but I really don't know what it's like unless I was a man with a darker skin tone.
Yeah.
I only know by what you tell me or what my friends tell me. And I think all of it hit me at once, and
Yeah.
my heart broke. My heart broke. And I just began to speak about truth. I even spoke about white privilege.
Mm-hmm.
By supporting my friends of color, I began to post things, Black Lives Matter.
You
The
said you got
sentiment,
some kickback from that though, right?
I did. So the sentiment behind Black Lives, period, is why I posted the things that I did. And they were strong, but to me, they were biblical, and they were coming from a place of honesty. And every time I'd post, like, I'll give you one example.
Mm-hmm.
If I said anything related to Black Lives Matter, people got their feathers ruffled big time. Mostly
Yeah.
white people.
Yeah.
And they were very close and they were family members. Because immediately they would insert and put, oh, no, 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 all lives matter. That's the way Jesus, all lives matter. It's not just Black lives.
Mm-hmm.
So their ignorance kicked in and their white fragility kicked in.
Yeah.
If they're not racist, if they say they're not racist, well, something kicked in to make them feel like they had to throw in all lives matter. And I got pushback. Don't post this. Don't do this. Don't support Black Lives Matter. The movement, they support things that is not Christian, da, 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 da. I mean, and they were just coming after me. Even private messaging me saying that I have Black friends who are paying me to do this.
Wow.
I've had people text private message me and say, you're only doing this because you go to a Black church. Dwight, it's easy for you to do this because you have Black friends. I'm like, no, it's not easy for me. I've worked hard for my friendships.
Yeah.
I don't talk
Aside
about
from
it.
race, yeah.
We live intentionally with people who are not the same color as us because that's who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they just came after me, man. And there was 1 or 2 times where, man, I was like, I'm done. Then the other times I just let it go off my shoulder. And I said, this is why we have to continue to speak about it. It's not going to go away. I had people text me and say, man, I can't wait for all this stuff to go away because, you're going to get off your high horse and, we just want everything to go back to normal. And I said, this is not normal. What's normal?
Nothing
Normal
about
to
this
you?
situation is normal.
No, at all.
Yeah.
So they think, let's just let it go away so we can go back to our white privileged self where we don't have to deal with this. And I said, this is the issue. It's not going away. If you say that you love Black people and that you are friends with Black people, said, do you have in your phone right now a Black person's phone number?
Mm-hmm.
Do you call that person? And listen, some of them said no. I said, well, you don't have any Black friends.
Well, why is it a pass? Why is it one of the first things white people say? I got a Black friend. Like this gives you like a pass. That is crazy. I mean, I just think.
So
go
some
ahead.
of
Go
those.
ahead.
So man, listen, man.
Go ahead.
Because a lot of people have a token Black friend,
Right.
which is usually an acquaintance at work or an
Yeah.
acquaintance
Like a
from their
gym partner or
childhood.
whatever else. Yeah.
It's just somebody that they can just say and tag and say, oh, I got a Black, I know I have Black people. I have Black people. No, you don't. You don't even have one contact number in your phone that is a Black family or a Black person that you can call. When's the last, and here's my next question for white people. When is the last time that you actually called somebody who was Black and had a conversation with them?
Yeah.
Even during this whole racism stuff, none of them, zero. My own personal blood and family brothers. I said, when's the last time that you called someone? They haven't.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that's the problem. I said, by you staying back and saying nothing and thinking it's just going to blow over is not going to solve anything. It's going to be here. It's going to stay here until we do something about it. Because let me tell you something. These people that are our Black friends,
Yeah.
they'll talk about it. Just ask them. They'll be more than glad to talk to you about it.
But it's not the same coming from us than it is from you. That's the twist I think people are getting. It's like when you're having a conversation, okay, now we're on neutral quote unquote playing fields.
Yeah.
I guess they're able to receive it better, but it seems like you're having a hard time too.
So for me, because we have, if you, my wife and I, you go through our phone, you go through our Facebook or Instagram,
Yeah.
we have so many friends who are white, Hispanic, and a ton of Black people.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful picture. So here's the deal. We easily could pick up the phone and call people and say, hey, I'm so sorry for what you're going through. What can I do to help you? And for the most part, Jay, for the most part, for all the part, it's almost 100% of us listening. And that's giving people like yourself the right to say whatever you want to say, however you want to say it. And if you get so mad that you want to curse a little bit because you're so ticked off, then it's okay because you want to express yourself. And it's up to us to truly listen to the emotion of your heart, of where you have been, where you have traveled, what you've experienced, and how can we just simply learn. And that's what I've been doing, Jay. I've been learning history. I've been learning what's taking place. I've been doing research and finding out how can I be more of a support, because I can post all day long on my Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like this much of a change, I guess. But it's my actions that will speak louder than my words. So I've had 40 different conversations, 40. I've
Yeah.
made 40 phone calls to people or Zoom links where we've spoken about this, and I've opened the floor and just said, let me hear from you. And man, it got emotional, it got raw, and there was lots of tears. And I allowed myself to go there because I needed to feel what they feel,
Yeah.
because I believe that's what Jesus did when he walked. He met people right where they are and he listened, and he spoke very little. Isn't that biblical?
Yeah, he was a savage. I tell people that all the time. He was dope. He didn't even have to say much. I think there's a
And then
go ahead.
whenever Jesus did speak, you know what he said?
What?
Be healed. You're forgiven.
Yeah,
Be
okay,
free.
I'm good. Yeah, it felt like he was well, he was, a lot of people understand like Jesus was on a mission. So it's kind of like knowing you're gonna die in like 33 years, right? People don't understand the human aspect of it. Imagine you're like racing, talk about a sense of urgency. Like you're like, okay, I get it, you want to be healed, boom. That's like not that it was that quick, but like when you have a mission, like the day,
Yeah.
as like, because people forget like the human side of it as well. Like you like, hey, I ain't got time for none of this. You even think about him going to get the disciples. It was so quick. It wasn't like no long thing. Hey, pick up your nets, let's go. I
That's
showed you.
it.
It was quick. And so that's what I thought about as well. The sense of urgency that we need to have in these times, and it's been heightened, of course. And like they were saying, like, well, let's let it blow over like everything else. No, right? I feel a shift, at least from where I'm standing. I feel a shift that, especially like, and Juneteenth was like right on time. It feels like it was like right on time to keep it going. We got all these great acts that are happening. Like laws are being changes and certain things. Like we're seeing it like on a surface level. Like
Yeah.
we're making this a holiday, or people are painting the streets, which is awesome, right? Well,
Yeah.
obviously, we're waiting for more, you know.
Yep.
But
Yep.
us having these conversations will change that. And as far as for me, um, I know I had to go through like my own little process I talked about before, but I think there's like a pivot that white people need to have and black people need to have, because on my end, which could be like unpopular opinion, whatever, is that we need to allow y'all to get it,
Yeah.
because like you said, it was a lot for you in that moment.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm like, well, we've been like, people will say, I've been experiencing this my whole life. You just not catching up. I get that, but that's coming from like a bad place.
Yeah.
And so where I'm at is like, okay, like you said, having an empathy, being patient, but only giving conversation to the people that I know that don't have malicious intent,
Right.
because some people like they ain't there to listen, they just there to argue. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna put you in your box over here. Let me know when you're ready to talk.
That's
Um,
exactly right.
but what I've been trying to do, especially in my sphere, is to just, okay, be patient. All right, they don't know. This is all new.
You
But
have to,
it's
man.
still frustrating for sure. But that's why I think, having that good faith walk, like you always talk about, is so important, because, and this is why, even if I always tell people, even if you don't believe in anything, these are still good nuggets to have. Be patient with the people, with everybody, and then my dad, like when we were talking too, like, he was like, I don't want you to just be so pro-black. Like, I get that, but like, he I didn't say it like that from what I thought, but it sounded to him like, well, I just love black people, nobody else. Or, it was just like,
Yeah.
you still gotta love everybody. Like, so maybe so I had to check myself then, like, okay, am I coming off like me and, Dwight ain't cool? Or am I coming off like I'm just like at these like undertones? Like, it's stuff that I'm dealing with, but I don't know.
No, Jay, I think it's a very good point. Here's the deal. Because of the nature of what's happened within these last couple of months
Yeah.
with people who are literally being murdered, Black people. So when you think about the hurt and the pain of currently what people are going through within the Black culture, it's what you and I have seen. Jesus leaves the 99 to go after the one, right?
Yeah.
So there's the one group right now, there's the one culture of people that is deeply hurting and deeply grieving, that have been in this fight for so long, but there's a deep sense of grief and there's a deep sense of pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so we raise the bar on all levels of Black Lives Matters. I love Black people, support Black lives, all those
Yeah.
things. And it doesn't negate the fact that you and other people truly love everybody, because I know that you do. All lives do matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every person
Yeah.
of color matters. But
Yeah.
right now, it is elevated that our Black culture and our Black people need attention, need some love, they need support. And we need the bridge to how we're going to solve some of these issues, and
Yeah.
we need to let it just bake a little while. We don't need to like just microwave it and toss it out. We need to let it
Yeah. Just
marinate, let it
right.
bake a little bit,
Along
because
for a
it's
couple of years, decades.
so that
Yeah.
true change can take place. Because if you look at the culture and the ethnicity of our African American friends and family, there's so much of a level that's, when you raise the bar of racism and injustice, man, it's way up here compared to other cultures and ethnicity. And
Mm-hmm.
it's time for change, man. It's time. And it starts in your home. If you are I don't care what color you are, it starts in your home with
Yeah.
a true discussion. And it's got to be biblical, but it's also got to be just some raw perspective. And like with my kids, they know what's going on because we talk about it.
So
And
what does that look like? What's the age range?
I
I
got
think.
all the way from 9 years old all the way to a soon to be 15-year-old.
Okay.
Got 4 kids, 2 girls, 2 boys.
Because me
So
and Brandon were just talking about that. It's like, we feel like, especially with like the senior high boys, that
yeah.
we owe it to them, not to get like in the deep depths of it, but we owe it to them to have those real conversations. So how does that look from a parental perspective with
So
the kids?
I'll just give you the example with my kids. Okay.
Yeah.
So we talk about it with our kids. Number one, here's the deal. They learn it in school what Black history is, right? It's amazing.
Barely.
Barely, but here's the deal. I could go on forever about this. So
Go
there's
ahead.
my youngest, Emmanuel. He's 9 years old.
Okay.
We passed by some protesters right down the street by HEB, and there was probably about 30 or 40. Like it was. I don't know if there was any Black people. It looked like it was all white people, but
Yeah.
they're holding up signs, Black
Yeah.
Lives Matter. It was a beautiful picture, right? So we passed by, and my boy like stares him down. And we pulled in right past HEB to a place to get some barbecue. And I just had my camera and I said, Emmanuel, can you tell me what you saw? And he said, yeah, those people were holding Black Lives Matter signs. And I said, well, what does that mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
This is his words from a 9-year-old. He said, well, Black Lives Matter, I love them and they love me. And we just love these people because Jesus loves them.
Mm-hmm.
And then he pauses and he says, uh, he goes, I don't want to be mean to them because people are being mean to them right now. And he goes, I'm not mean to them. So then he said, Dad, did you know that they were, everything was taken away from them and they had no clothes? And I laughed
Mm.
because I thought he was talking about Adam and Eve. But I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, oh, so you didn't know that. So they had everything taken away from them and they came on the boat and they didn't have any clothes and they were being
Yeah.
mistreated. He was
Right.
talking about slaves.
Yeah.
And he says, Daddy, I learned that in school. So he learned something about Black people being mistreated in slavery, how horrible it was, and how we need to change it. And man, my heart just began to open up. And I said, I was proud of him because he knew it. Like there's something wrong with this picture, that they were being mistreated a long time ago, and now they're still being mistreated today.
Yeah.
And our kids talk about it because they can't stand it. They say, our friends are being mistreated. Our friends are experiencing injustice. Our friends are experiencing hatred right now.
Mm.
And my daughters, they broke. They cried because we have close friends who were
Yeah.
Black, and they just couldn't even imagine them going through life and being judged and being called names, like the harsh names that I won't mention on your talk. And they just could not believe that people are still experiencing that, and they broke. So
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about it, we say, what can you do? And they said, we're just going to choose to continue to have friends who don't look like us and love them no matter what, and see them the way that God sees them.
So it's purposely. I don't know. So how does that look? Because okay, you purposely trying to have a Black friend. Not trying to like make it like a blanket statement, but like,
No,
I mean of diversity.
right.
So like that, I feel like that's important. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know.
Well,
I
here's
know
the
you should
deal.
want to be diverse, I guess, in your
Right,
portfolio of friends, right?
right.
But what's the intent behind it? Because you don't want to just do it just to check a box. That's what I think people are mad about. I'm not saying that's what
No.
they're doing. I'm just saying from over
What?
here, it looks like when people say, "Well, I got a black friend,"
Yeah.
whatever. It's like, okay, check that box. I'm good. Blah blah blah. But I don't feel like you should have to explain that though. That's my
You
thing. It
no,
should
you
show.
shouldn't. It should show. And Jay, this goes back to the way my wife was brought up and the way that I was brought up. So let me go back to 16 years of age whenever I gave my life to Jesus.
Okay.
My heart began to grow so strongly for people in general
Yeah.
and just for young people. So 16, 17, 18, I graduate, I'm out of school, and I'm a youth pastor now at my church. Um, Man, my heart was just hungry to reach people of all kinds, no matter what kind of background they were from.
Mm-hmm.
So where I came from in Louisiana, very small town, like probably some other small towns, there was a clear dividing line in our small town, a
Yeah.
railroad track. A railroad track
Really.
divided, the whites live on this side and the blacks live on that side. And I remember even as a young boy, like, this is wrong. Why can't we all live together?
Mm-hmm.
And we're always told, don't go on the other side of the track. So
Wow.
whenever I gave my heart to Jesus, I intentionally went on the other side of the track
Okay.
and began to play basketball with those guys. Um, I led one guy to the Lord. His name's Nigel Thomas in
Yeah.
his park. And
Okay.
to this day, we're still friends. And he invited me to go to stay at his house. I said, oh, wait, hold up. You're inviting me to go to your
You
house?
got invited to the cookout. That's it.
I got invited to the cookout.
That's a good
So,
name for the podcast.
so I knew for me
Yeah.
as a white man to just
Okay.
broaden my own horizon of reaching people. It wasn't a check mark. I had to get uncomfortable. I had to be willing to befriend someone and go into their field, go to their house,
Yeah.
go to their, does it make sense?
Yeah. 100%.
And so when I did that for the first time and I stayed at his house, um, it was not the kind of environment that I was used to, but let me tell you something. I thank God for it because they made me do things and say things like it just makes me smile now because he and I are still friends. We laugh a lot.
Yeah.
If that never would have happened, if I wasn't willing to do that, he and I would not remain friends today.
That's
We
good.
call each other all the time and reminisce how I stepped into his world and I wasn't afraid. And I went to his house that one night, and it was actually several times, stayed the night.
Yeah.
All those guys, man, they would walk around with their shirts off. Like, hey, man, if you're gonna stay in our house, you gotta walk around with your shirt off. Like, you don't want this white boy to take off his shirt. But I did it, and
Yeah.
I stuck out like a sore thumb. But let me tell you something,
But that's
Jay.
okay. Yeah.
Man, these people loved me like I was their own, like their own.
Yeah. That's good.
And their parents, I mean, the way that I was treated, of what I've heard from as a child from my grandparents, was completely different.
Mm.
They were just people, just like me, but the skin of their color was different.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
It makes 100%. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. That's good.
And so
But
I always intentionally put myself in places that made me uncomfortable so I could learn people and learn culture. I moved to El Salvador, Central America, intentionally with a missionary couple, and also on the weekends would stay in these. I would stay in these homes where
mm-hmm.
these people, Salvadorans, lived in a home as big as my porch, made of sticks, mud, and tin, and to learn them, to learn their language. And that, for me, that was the way to reach people.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. The
I
thing
had
for
to,
me is people do that all the time. They'll go travel. I didn't even know you've been there. That's what's up. But they'll go and experience all these cultures. So this is so important. They want their kids and everything to go visit these exchange, uh, companies and everything. But this is like, but you're not trying to experience what's right next to you. That's
yeah,
why it's funny that you mentioned that. I think Pastor David was talking about maybe like one of the last brotherhood meetings for the year. He said, I remember coming to Summit. And he's like, I even tried to change he said, I found myself even changing the way I dressed a little bit. He said, or I was wearing, I think he said, wearing Converse. He said, now I want to wear some Jordans. He's like, man, these shoes are fly, but that was so like deep for me because like you said, we have to experience, all these different cultures. So why don't stop at black,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when they think like, I don't know, because even for us too, like real Africans, like we say, like come like in Africa, like like from Nigeria, like Jamaican, like, we're all African, but they think it's a divide too between like, okay, you're an American black. I've heard people say it versus like we're from like, no, I'm just saying like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because at the end of the day, like I think we were kind of robbed of our culture. And it's not
Yes.
just like the stuff that you see on like National Geographic. It's like there's a whole, it's like legit Wakanda. Like
Mhm.
they are thriving. And so it's just like, okay, now I see people like learning more, and not just American black history, but African black history.
Yeah, that's
That's
good.
why it runs, and everybody's roots run deep, in any capacity, but it's just about learning more of who you are. And so I think that's a part of it too, as far as the schools, is they teach the bad parts, of Black history, or even if we just do American Black history, but not the good parts of the. You got like the people that, what's the dude, George Washington Carver, or he invented this, and it's cool. I'm glad it's there, but it's just like getting down into the deep root of it. That's
Yeah.
good. I like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I wanted to also talk about the essential oils.
Okay.
Let's lighten it up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You seem I wanted to ask about this on the podcast because me and my wife, we're like allergic to everything, and we really are. Like, got Tide Free and Gentle. We have like one candle we can use. It's like Ocean Mist or something. And we're always super clean. I
Yeah.
mean, everything is, we vacuum almost like every couple of days because we're allergic to dust. She allergic like almost every food in the world. So we have to like really stay on top of it.
Sure. Sure.
So you came on a live, and I watched a bit of that as well, as far as like the essential oils. So how did you kind of get into that, and why are you so passionate about some essential oils, and how did you get into it?
Yeah. Well, it started with my wife, just to be honest with you. She was always more of finding that natural trail of what can we do for better health of our family. So again, to make a very short story, was so many times we trust when we walk into a store that we just purchase things off of the shelf, trusting
Mm-hmm.
that whatever's inside of the store is going to be safe for you to either ingest or even just normal hair products or whatever, shampoo, soap. So people just buy stuff off the shelf thinking, well, if they sell it, if it's FDA approved, then surely it's safe. Well, the more that we begin to dig into FDA, what's approved and what's healthy, there is a massive percentage of things that is sold in stores that has things that are very harmful for you, that's full of toxic chemicals, and over time can harm you internally, but also externally on your skin.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife dug into it, and she found Essential Oils, a company that sells the 100% pure oil. Because if you can just walk into H-E-B or another store, you're going to see these little oil bottles on a shelf
Yeah.
that say they're FDA approved. But honestly, the FDA can approve something even if it just has 5% pure oil in it. So that means the rest of it's synthetic.
Uh,
If you buy, so they call it greenwash. So if you buy laundry detergent, shampoo, soap, or even foods that say natural ingredients or organic, it does not mean that it's safe and healthy for you. It can only have the smallest percentage of something that's pure, and the rest can be synthetic, and they call it organic or they call it natural.
so
So
it's not really organic. It's
it's
just enough to have the label.
it's again another topic for another day. But the
Yeah.
FDA, CDC, all that, it's a money making opportunity. They know how
Okay.
to make something with the smallest amount of pure products and call it pure or natural or organic. And you're eating and ingesting something that's not. So the essential oils for us was, it was a company. My wife's been to the convention, she's been to a farm, she knows how they distill it. So what you get in the bottle of a lavender, lemon, frankincense, or whatever it may be, it's 100% oil that you're going to get that's going to support something for you internally and even externally, for skin support, respiratory, again, immune system. So we looked at what is going to be natural for our family, that we can cut the junk out, and put the good things in. If God made it to be good,
Mm-hmm.
and you look at the research behind of what it can do for you, then we need to be consistent in using it. So we changed over to essential oils and product lines of all cleaning products, all of our all of our shampoos and soaps and even supplements is all from Young Living because it's 100% pure products, good for you. And
Okay.
we've seen a complete turnaround in our health and wellness. So we believe in it so much because, like I said earlier, if you take care of your immune system, if there's a better you, Jay, a better me, then we're going to do better.
Yeah.
And if we just put junk inside of us that are toxic, that is going to fill us, it's going to harm us, then we're not going to operate the way God wants to operate. So we believe health is so important, and we made a massive change to Young Living essential oils and
Okay.
their products that we have seen 100% turnaround in our health, in our immune system, and things that we needed for even skin support. I mean, just fill in the blank.
Yeah.
So we're very passionate about it. We're passionate about teaching people about it, of getting on this natural trail of wellness and health. And that's why we do it, man.
Well, I'll make sure I put all of that in the description as well. That's what's
Yeah,
up. Last question before we get to the scripture, which is always a staple over here at the No Tact Talk.
sure.
What would be your what would be a superpower if you could have any of them? If you could have
A
any
superpower?
superpower right now, what would it be?
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to keep it simple. Even though I believe that I have this characteristic in me, but this is
Okay.
a superpower that I believe we highly underestimate, and it's called kindness.
Oh, come on, man. No, you gotta give like a.
Yes.
You got kindness already though, like a legit superhero DC Marvel superpower.
Oh man, and now you're gonna make me get all like super. Okay,
Hey, I'm good with it. Let's go.
bro, I want to fly. Let me just be honest. I want to fly. That's my
Okay.
superpower. I want to just jump off my balcony and fly right over there to that lake. I just want to fly. I want to
You
be able
want
to
to fly?
fly. Yep.
I feel like you're limited when you fly because you can't carry that much, right?
I want to fly,
You're like
and
you could take.
I want the Superman kind of power fly. That means I can
Okay.
carry
Oh,
people
okay.
around.
Yeah. Okay.
I can pick up the world or whatever.
Well, mine is always super speed. That's what's up. So the science behind that, reason why I'm asking that now, it's the second we can be doing this. When people want to fly, they feel grounded, right? So you always ask somebody, no matter if they're new, you meet somebody, go ask your wife, like, as soon as we got off this call, what would be a superpower? It tells you a lot about people. When you want to fly, that means you feel too grounded, like you're stuck in certain times in your life. Not all the time.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah, but usually, because like for me, I always say I want to be super fast because I'm slow. Like I could run a long distance, but I'm slow. I can't sprint worth, you know.
Yep.
And so it kind of lets you know about somebody without them telling you like, hey, I deal with this. It's a great way to
Sure.
do it. I always tell people to do that. Anyway, with that
But
being
I
said,
agree with you because I know sometimes, sometimes I get, I get in a pattern of being grounded or what I'm doing.
yeah,
But bro, there's times I just want to break out of it and I just want to do the absolute opposite.
yeah,
I don't mean this in a bad way, but I tend to want to be a rule breaker sometimes and
you
just
want to
stop
fly
what I'm
away?
doing. I want to fly
Yeah,
away and I just want to, even if it's something new and take a risk, I just want to fly and jump off the cliff and do it.
yeah. That's good. I know we're
I'm,
both
I'm,
extroverts, so that helps for sure.
yes, it does. Yes.
So the scripture of the day, and I always say that this scripture is tailored just for you. This is something I prayed on that I have that would never be used again on the podcast, and nobody would ever get this scripture. And I always say I don't know what I'm gonna do when I'm out of scripture, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
But I thought about, and it's weird because it's still about you, but the scripture is Hebrews 13:8. It says, and I always say go to the English Standard Version. It's just a little theology trick, little thing they always taught me. English Standard, and you always have like your two different ones, right? Your King James and your Good News. Have something that's like in there, but something that you can still understand it. But ESV is for me, for people that might not be familiar with the Bible, it's like right in the middle. It's just enough where you can understand, but still get some of that potency, right?
Sure.
It's like I said, Hebrews 13:8, and it's Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. So it seems really simple. And I'm gonna explain it. I'll give you time to kind of say what that means to you as well. From all the topics that we discussed today, I know we kind of harped in on like the racial things, but this is very important because I'm not stopping, right? So I really do appreciate you for coming on and finally. We always so busy with.
I
I
know.
like to watch, by the way. Saw the wife hooked you up.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. So what that means to me is it was a love thing, and we talked about a heart change as well. And I kind of had to do some more research, because every time we talk, I think it's important to learn something. It doesn't matter if it's just over coffee, through a podcast. We should always be kind of sharpening each other. So I thought about it, because it's simple. Jesus is the same today, yesterday, and forever. And so when we try to mirror our life or mirror our faith walk to how Christ was, we talked about that for a little bit, of how he, had a sense of urgency, how the common denominator was always love, right? And I see that in you. Not saying you Jesus, obviously, but I see that, because on any given day, we all have our good and bad days. I feel like anybody listen to this that knows Pastor Dwight, that, hey, like he said, he's a hugger, always extroverted, and you're the same, which is good. And it's not saying you're grounded or like complacent, but you're consistent. And so that's what I see when I see you, and I feel you, you're consistent. Like, hey, I'm making a conscious decision to be a man, making a conscious decision to be a husband, a father, pastor, but all in all, a good person.
Yeah.
And it takes work. And I think people kind of look over that. It's like, oh, he's always smiling, and he's always whatever else. And I get that a lot too, very similar to kind of what I am like, but you don't know what I do. Like, I tell my wife, like, hey, you fill me up. Like, when I'm pouring at other people, you fill me up, right? And so, like, I think a lot of times people forget that we're human, extroverts are human, and we're just happy. And so that's kind of what I got, for you, because like, just as Christ, was the same today, it takes a lot, but we're not Christ, and we don't have that supernatural, tank, right?
Yeah.
And so from a human aspect, it says a lot to emulate that. Not saying you're perfect, again, by any means, but to emulate that on a daily basis. I commend you for that. And I do that on every podcast. I don't have people on just for no reason. I commend you for grinding it out, and, not just doing what people think you should do, but going above and beyond and being great. So that's kind of what I feel. And
I love it, man.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, thank you for acknowledging that I'm not perfect.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Nobody. We try to be Christ-like, but
I know, man.
It's to have that level, of excellency.
Well, I appreciate that scripture big time. I love that scripture, and so you're right, Jay. It does take work to, there. I have bad days.
Yeah.
I have days that I don't want to smile. I have days that that are tough, and so that scripture means a lot to me, because Jesus kept it so simple. You hit the nail on the head. At the end of the day, he told his disciples that if you are going to be a disciple, then you are to love one another. And I think when we get out of that box of complicating things, and we get in our own feelings where it can mess things up, then we just need to get back to the very basics of what love means. Because love covers a multitude of sins. And when we truly are disciples of Christ and we truly love one another, that we carry each other's burdens, that's a whole different ballgame. I can say I love you, but if we're not going to do life together and just be real with you, I can say, hey, Jay, how are you? Oh, man, I'm good. Hey, Dwight, how are you? I'm good. That's so surface. But if we're willing to be raw and just real and genuine, that's where change takes place. And I can still love you no matter what kind of day you have or what you go through, or if you make a mistake, because I know that Jay is going to change. He's not going to stay the same. We're not perfect. You hit that nail on the head. We're going to make mistakes. You got to take a risk. You got to be willing to fail a couple of times, but get back on your feet. And even through the bad days, I still got to choose love, because that's what gets me out of bed every single stinking day.
That's good. That's
love God, to love my wife, to love my kids, to love you, to love people in our church, and to keep giving them a hug that I like to give.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, I'm not gonna take up too much of your time today. You're a very busy man. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, man.
It's been a privilege and an honor to have you on, man, to kind of get your side on a variety of topics. And I do think that we just changed the world, right?
Absolutely.
This is what it's all about: having these conversations, putting it out for people to hear, to give them a different perspective on all sides: black, white, purple, gray, light brown, whatever, right?
Yep.
But this is all. You got anything else to say before we out?
Man, I'm good. I just appreciate you, what you're trying to do, man. So you keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. This has always been a reminder to live with a no tact in your life. Live on purpose. Peace.
Yeah. Peace, man. Take care.